never let a job identify you. Never let a career or a hobby become your identity. Our identity is in Christ always. And letting him lead and direct makes life so much easier because nothing is in our control anyway. And he has good plans for us for his glory.
You're listening to The People of Work, the podcast that dives into the real stories behind what people do for a living and how work shapes who we are. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to The People of Work with Amy Graves. I'm so thrilled today to have our guest, Mermaid Sabrina Rose, is joining us today from Tennessee. And we're going to dig in and learn a little bit more about how in the world someone becomes a mermaid and what does life look like with a career as a mermaid. Sabrina, thank you so much for joining me today.
Amy, it's my pleasure and truly an honor. So thank you for the opportunity to get to splash with you today. Yeah.
Yes, I love that. Well, we've had a couple of conversations prior to today. Every time we interact, you use some terminology like that. So yes, you get to splash with me today. I think calling me from your shell phone, just some really cute, play on words there based on your career. And I love that. I'm so intrigued by the work you're doing. And I really look forward to sharing it with our audience. So if it's good with you, we're going to dig in.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay. So Sabrina, I am first just really curious. I'm going to take us back. Certainly you're in a field that's what I would call creative. I don't know that anyone as a little girl, actually maybe all little girls say they want to be mermaids. I don't know. But I'm interested in your story and what work looked like growing up in your house. Was creativity or performance always something that was in your family, in your home? Tell me a little bit about that.
Growing up, being creative and thinking outside the box and in those environments was always encouraged. But my dad was an over the road truck driver for years, my entire life, really. My mom, she was on permanent disability with a sleep disorder. So she and I were very, very close. And so anything that sounded like a fun activity to do, she was always gung ho to jump full in into the deep end. And so anything that I seemed passionate or interested in, she and my dad were both very encouraging to try it. See if it's something that you enjoy. If it's not, that's okay. We can go on and move on to something else, but at least you tried. Yes, there was a lot of encouragement from both my parents in that environment. It was very, very sweet, and I'm very, very grateful.
Were you thinking about a specific career at a young age, or were you thinking about being a mermaid or something else?
I grew up in West Michigan and in about a quarter-mile distance walking from 3 different lakes. So was constantly in the water, but I had wanted to, as a little kid, create like a Loch Ness monster story. But my mom was like, "You'll drown." And that wasn't a thing at that time in life. That was very, very outside of the realms of normal. But I really loved the ocean. I loved being in the water. And so I was always hoping for marine biology, actually. So funny enough that I'm in Tennessee, where you're landlocked. But was getting ready to study marine biology, and a turn of events that when I was about to embark on my high school journey and really setting the path forward for marine biology courses into college levels, I ended up having the opportunity to join a superstar on stage for a concert event they were doing and pulling people up on stage that had signs at the time, and pulled me up on stage. I ended up singing a song with them. And the next night there was another show at the same venue, and their team looked at me and said, "You should really consider doing something with this." And I enjoyed songwriting. I enjoyed music, but never considered it something to do as far as a career.
Sabrina, you cannot kick off this talk about a superstar and not mention the superstar.
Sweet gentleman, Keith Urban, actually.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, very, very cool. And I was very blessed with the opportunity to meet him again and thank him for that opportunity. So I changed my entire trajectory. And instead of looking at moving to either Hawaii or Texas or Florida for schooling and such, I came to Tennessee. and started audio engineering and songwriting and went on a whole whirlwind adventure and had some really great experiences, some fun opportunities. But my true passion was being in the water, and I really missed it. And I had a friend who'd done character companies and things, and I had been working in the retail sector with the Walt Disney Company. Went down for some auditions and went in for another round. But I also saw a lot of things that were really kind of heartbreaking in that environment. And I'd worked with the company long enough as an ambassador. I just really felt heavy that the Lord had been telling me, I don't want you here. I want you out there loving on my babies who can't come here. And little did I know a few years later that would be a thing where there's a lot of littles and a lot of families that can't go to the parks. And so I'm very blessed and really honored to be able to bring families together at this point now with swimming and mermaiding and being able to really pour into families and their little minnows and love on them and just see them for as truly special and one of a kind that they are. That's my big drive.
So when you went to Tennessee, were you going there for college for audio engineering, or were you going there for other opportunities, not college, but you were like taking on small jobs and learning as much as you could?
Tennessee, like Middle Tennessee, is extremely saturated. Like if you meet somebody on the street, most likely we're songwriters or somehow connected within the industry. I moved with my parents. Actually, they came with me during the housing market crash. So I graduated high school in 2009, actually. And at the same time, I had a scholarship for school to come to Tennessee. Everything was going swimmingly. And my parents got the letter in the mail that said, you missed one house payment, we're taking your house. And my family lived there for 18 years. And with my dad over the road, that meant giving up the scholarship, telling the school I'll see you next year, but I have to help my family. And so I helped my mom pack everything up. Thankfully, with my dad's job, his employer was like, Tennessee is a great central hub. We'll route you home. Like, it's all good. Keep your job. And so we all moved to Tennessee. I came for schooling, but I was also in the studio a lot with different friends and things. And now my husband, it was one of those things where everything that I was paying for in school, I was already learning hands-on anyway. I was like, well, I thank you so much for allowing me to be part of your classes, but I'm going to drop the program. And as it turns out, that was also a blessing in disguise. It's just a few years later, the school ended up completely shutting down. It was a blessing in disguise and kept me out of a lot of debt.
Oh, they often say, right? When one door closes, another one opens.
Absolutely. I did a lot of different retail and customer service and things like that. I did some hosting for a restaurant. I did some character performances, odd jobs on the side with some friends for their companies. I would do different photography for some friends, just odds and end jobs. I was never too ingrained in a box by any means.
It's a myth that you pick one thing and you do it for the rest of your life. That can certainly happen, but for many people, they enjoy kind of that moving around and doing different things and trying new jobs, right? So it seems like that was something that was kind of a part of you and you were good with that.
One of the things for sure is I've discovered that it doesn't matter what you do in your life, whether it's you're a homemaker, you're a mama bear, you have a career path, it can truly become your identity. And that's one thing that's a very dangerous place. Unfortunately, I've seen that happen with a lot of different individuals and close to my family too, where they've been in careers for 30 plus years. Well, now I can't do that anymore. Well, now what? And I see people spiral and go into severe depressions. And it's so hard to try to something new because you've been so ingrained in your ways that you don't even know who you are. And so that's one of the very really important things for my husband and I is, who are you? Who gets to say what your identity is? That's the one who made us. It's the creator of the universe. He cares so deeply about his masterpieces. No two of us are the same. That's just so incredible to me. And so to be able to interact with individuals at different places in life and things like that, they're divine appointments every step of the way. And so to pigeonhole myself into one box or another, there's an element of disobedience in that because then I'm just hanging on to something white knuckle grip, even when it's no longer working. And then I'm missing out on whatever blessings that the Lord has for me in the bigger picture, or those divine appointments that, no, I'm not going. Well, then you've missed out on a blessing, not only for yourself, but in the bigger picture, that other individual and that relationship and that community that can grow.
So I want to talk about the audition process for becoming a mermaid. First of all, you said you had a friend that was doing some kind of character work. So was this friend also a mermaid?
No, actually. So he was doing his own character company thing, having like different princesses and things like that visit with other families for birthday parties and such. And there's a lot of those different companies around this area. Some people will do like salon boutique kind of things and do a princess for a day kind of event. Some people will do superheroes, all different kinds of things. But I had noticed that there's so much competition in that environment, and quality and quantity kind of, they dance very heavily with each other in that environment. And so looking at what I really wanted to do, which was of all of the characters I could ever play or portray or have fun with, I really loved the whole mermaiding aspect. And I also saw that there wasn't a whole lot of swimmable mermaids. If there were character companies and they would have a mermaid there or a little mermaid, usually it would be in a mermaid style skirt, if you will. And so there was always the walking mermaid. And I never wanted that kind of environment. I wanted to create more of what you would expect to see from a mermaid, which would be water and not being able to walk. So I really started honing in on that specific area and staying away from all of the other princesses and character and superheroes and such. There's enough of that. They can have that business. Kudos to them. But I wanted to kind of go with another niche, if you will.
This doesn't sound like there was a lot of these opportunities, especially in Tennessee. So how did you find a role like this, and what was the audition process like?
I just started doing it myself originally.
You created your own opportunity. All right.
Yeah. So I started looking on secondhand websites, Goodwill, started building costumes from just whatever I could come up with. I'm not a seamstress by any means. I'm not afraid to try to dabble. As long as it's my own stuff. If it's for somebody else, then I very much want it to be precise and do the best for them. But I ended up finding secondhand cloth mermaid tail with a monofin inside. And so I was looking for safety features as well as the quality and ability to use the equipment. So first I just started swimming with my own tail, making sure that it would be okay, making sure that I would be safe and confident and comfortable, especially before I start adding in littles to swim with me. Because whenever I'm in the water with them, my number one concern as a mermaid is making sure your littles are in a safe zone. If they can't touch the bottom and they're struggling, I'm moving them to the shallow ends. Like, they are my priority number one. And so my equipment also has to be safe around them. And then I started to expand my equipment. And after discovering, okay, I'm comfortable, I'm confident in a cloth tail with a monofin, let's see about upgrading. Now, when it comes to the full silicone tails and all of that equipment, it's extremely expensive. And there's no refunds or 30-day return policies. So when you do it, you want to make sure it's done right, because it's essentially as permanent as getting a tattoo, but paying for a car payment, making sure it fits into the budget 100%. I was always a strong swimmer as a kid. I always loved playing mermaids and doing buoyancy control games in the pool. So I was really excited about being able to use this kind of equipment. But I then, after using the cloth tail for a season, I ended up finding another tail that was a hybrid silicone neoprene wetsuit combination that isn't used so much nowadays. But I bought that tail secondhand to Facebook Marketplace. And that was a really great introduction for me to the world of silicone and the dragon skin silicone world. Well, with that tail, I had started expanding into doing more parties, but I was also still working for the Disney company. And one of my coworkers and cast members, she came in this one morning when I was doing shipment for the store and told me that the Aquarium Restaurant was in the process of hiring and that I should go apply because why not? She was going to for funsies, as she put it. And I ended up going down there and applying and giving them my business card and said, give me a call. And so I went, and sure enough, they gave me an audition window, and it was rigorous training. We call it Shell Week for a good reason. You sleep very, very good. There is doing timed swims of 200 meters. There is breath hold training. We have a thing called the ABC track where you go underwater and we watch how your facial expressions move. We watch how comfortable you look underwater. One of the telltale signs is that if you are not comfortable, the eyes are the window to the soul, and they will give you away every time. And so if somebody has even the least little bit of fear, you can see it translate because it's like a 30-second long track. And if you're feeling uncomfortable, like you can't make it through, that's going to be a bare minimum kind of breath hold for our environments.
30 seconds is the minimum breath hold.
Yes. And so when it comes to doing those shows and things like that, and when we're singing along with the tracks, you want to be able to have a solid window sweep, as we call them. So guests can see you. You're not like jellyfishing around kind of thing. You're not floundering around. If you're comfortable and you're relaxed, you move slower and you look more natural. The way I like to describe it is like a form of dance.
It's so interesting. So when you auditioned, did you audition at the aquarium where the restaurant was with the huge aquarium, or were you in like a random pool or something? Where were you? Where was the audition? Was it just one day of auditions too, doing all those different kinds of tests?
No, so we had multiple rounds of auditions. Of course, like the fish safe and things like that. So we don't include them yet into the first round of auditions. We have our first auditions at the pool and we check on your endurance training. We see basic tricks, backflips, different things like that. How comfortable are you able to do these things before we even introduce anyone to meeting our fish friends?
Is the tail on in the pool in the audition process the first time, or no, it's just you in the water? Okay, got it.
Yes, we want to see first and foremost before anyone is a mermaid is that you have to be a strong human swimmer first and foremost. And I tell that to any little minnows who are like, I want to be a mermaid. You have to be able to be a strong swimmer with your human legs before we can even consider you flipping your fins into a monofin. And so we do some warm-up training with just basic swimming skills. And then we will also introduce the monofin and see how someone does with the dolphin kick with that included into the process. The next audition would be introducing someone to our fish friends, but you would also be swimming around, just getting used to the environment itself. And then it wouldn't be until we went back to a swimming pool for you to be introduced to your equipment. And then with your equipment, then we move forward from there. We do it in steps and layers.
That makes perfect sense. So after the audition process, they call you and say, you've got the job, right? We're going to hire you as a mermaid. Are there several mermaids that are hired? I assume you guys are all working different shifts. I'm curious, is this like an hourly job? I mean, are you clocking in for your mermaid shift? What's it look like?
So everybody does things quite very differently. Thankfully, though, with our pod there at the restaurant, we all work very closely together. So we train together. We have our groups together. We share ideas together, all of those things. We come on in and we swim our way through the back and then get our fins up together upstairs and then just dive on in. And so we usually like to visit the restaurant when it's like Mermaid Mondays or Mermaid Thursdays. Everybody really loves, and it's one of our favorites, is to splash with all of our guests for our breakfasts. And those are usually on Saturday mornings. And so we'll do scripted shows, we'll do freestyle music, and then occasionally we'll do some fun events if it's like International Mermaid Day or National Seashell Day. We just kind of go with the flow and just have fun with it.
So Sabrina, is this your full-time job is mermaiding?
It is part-time, but at the same time, I'm always available for my pod. And so I'm always coordinating different things, or we'll have guests that will call our event coordinator and, hey, do you have mermaids available? And then she'll ring me up on the shell phone. And from there, then she'll start asking me if anybody's available, and I'll see who's swimming into town. But like I tell all of my mermaids that it's like the priorities are faith, family, and then it is the pod. And so first and foremost, we have to take care of those things, and let me honor you by you having your time. And from there, we'll coordinate and work everything out best for the guests.
Tell me again for our listeners, the name of the restaurant that you swim in, that you mermaid in?
Oh, I'm very blessed to swim with the Aquarium Restaurant in Nashville, Tennessee. So it's my happy place.
That's great. That's great. I cannot wait to visit. I've not been to this restaurant. When did this restaurant open? How long have you been here?
Ooh. The Aquarium Restaurant has been inside of Opry Mills Mall, right across the parking lot from the Grand Ole Opry, for longer than I've been with the pod. But they were a part of the Opry Mills Mall coral reefs, if you will, prior to the Nashville flood that happened in 2010. And it's right next to the Cumberland River, which ended up flooding 10 feet up right there by the restaurant. And by God's good grace, the water level stopped right before any of it could really do any harm to our fish and the tanks. And so everybody did very, very well through that. So they're amazing. It's incredible. But the restaurant has been there for 15 years plus, probably at this point, since I've lived in Tennessee for 15 years. So it's been there longer than I have. Yes.
So in addition to the restaurant, the aquarium and the restaurant, are you also still doing birthday parties where you would go to someone's house and their pool and show up as a mermaid?
Not as often as I used to, especially now that I have this other pod that's very much in my care. But I do them occasionally. We actually have a local water park here in the Nashville area called Nashville Shores. And in July, I helped them by doing Mermaid Monday events. And so for the past couple of years, it's been like 11 to 2 o'clock, and I'll swim and play games with kids at like they have a pool called Barefoot and Bay. And then I will be wheeled over in my little wagon by my mer handler. She's my mermaid. And she will wheel me over to the larger pool, and then I'll swim in like 4-foot deep water with other older kids. So I'll do those events, but also the occasional birthday party. I have one coming up. This will be our 5th year in a row being able to swim with this little guppy. And it's been such a blessing to watch her grow up over the years. So I'm very excited for that. And every party that I ever book, my company's called Party Your World. And so every event that I book, it is specifically tailored to that guest and their needs. So how many kiddos are you having? Are your minnows top water swimmers? Are they deep sea divers? Are they surface surfers? And how many girls, how many boys? And so I base my prizes and things like that based off of their age groups, also their abilities of swimming and things of that nature. And then we'll do like mermaid back rides. I'll do race the mermaids, all that kind of stuff with them.
I mean, you're creating core memories for these, as you call them, guppies, these little kids. This is something that they'll never forget. Swimming with a mermaid, it's magical, right?
It's a dream come true for sure. If I were in their flippers, I would absolutely want to swim with a mermaid. So I truly just want to pour into them as much as possible and for them to realize just how truly special they are. And so if that's the way that I get to do it, I'm super grateful. And I've seen it in the past where there have been littles, they will say, I'm not a captain. I'm nothing. And in that moment, it's immediately, hold on. No, my friend. You are so important. I love being able to do that and almost help the families create those memories. Yeah.
Okay, I have to ask this question as a fellow redhead. Your hair is amazing and phenomenal. Clearly goes so well with your job as a mermaid. But I have to know, because you're in the water a lot and in pools and there's so much chlorine. As a redhead, I know how quickly this dulls. How often are you having to upkeep this color? And because I have to know listen, this is a critical question. Okay.
Well, I am very much a big fan of Redken hair care products. If I do go for like hair coloring, I might do a heavy color, if you will, or like a professional coloring maybe every 6 months, once every 6 months.
In between, you're taking care of it yourself.
Yes. So I'm using one of the main products is Kira Color. And so I'll just kind of let that color deposit kind of hang out. It's animal friendly and it stays in really, really well in the salt water, and it's a great product. So I'm very grateful for over the years. It's helped a lot to make it sure that it grows. But dingle hoppers every day, you never leave home without one.
Of course, you've got the dingle hopper. Of course, of course. Do people call you Ariel? Do some of the kids call you Ariel when they see you?
Usually yeah, I don't project a name or anything like that. Like they come running up and that's immediately what they call me. And I have gotten so excited and tickled over reading in scripture. And I actually found the name Ariel in the Bible. And I was so amazed and so excited. And so I love the extra meaning of the name. And also the color scheme has always been one of my favorites together, with the color green as the color of life, purple is royalty, and of course red is the blood of the lamb. So I'm all for eternal life as a royal priesthood covered by the blood. So I just love all of those layers and being able to swim against the current in that case and look up, because that's where my salvation's coming from. Everything else, I'll just drown in this world just trying to keep up with the Joneses. So
I think a lot of us feel that way. Yeah, I can understand that. So what advice would you give to a young person, mermaid, merman, wannabe? What advice would you give them?
Dive into it. Like, go with the flow, have fun, go make a splash. Like, what's the harm in going for a swim? It's good for you. It's good for all of your muscles. It's good for your joints. Don't worry about what the rest of the world says. It's none of my business what other people think of me anyway. And so in that case, if it's something that's enjoyable, I think that you should definitely dive into that. Get with a community 100% as far as bouncing off ideas, but also expand in your own mind. Figure out different things that work for you. I've discovered monofin foot pockets are quite a challenge. If you will, it's kind of like a ballerina slipper with the on point toes. And so everybody's human feet are a little bit different. And so trying to accommodate those things, be willing to ask questions. Like, it's not a normal kind of thing. And there's a lot of different factors. And when you add water, I mean, a lot of electronics, well, obviously electronics aren't going to work, but finding different things that work for you. There's no rigid way of doing things. There's no, this is that you have to take this class, you have to do these things. Kind of make your own wave, if you will.
Make your own wave. I love that. If people want to come visit you, Sabrina Rose, they can see you at the Aquarium Restaurant in Nashville across from Opry Mill, I think is what you said. What days again? Mermaid Mondays.
I'm across from the Grand Ole Opry, the home of country music, inside the Opry Mills Mall. Come check out the website, swim on over to the website at aquariumrestaurant.com, and you can see all of our show dates at this point. And we have our evening shows that'll be on Mermaid Thursdays and Mermaid Mondays. And then also we will have our Saturday breakfast buffet performances where we have all different kinds of treats, from breakfast for bacon to parfaits to multicolored pancakes. Like, there's all kinds of fun things. So
yeah, that's fun. And then your personal company, do you travel or do you just stay in kind of Tennessee for your personal company and shows?
It's very open palette, wherever the need be. Because my husband and I have a ministry farm as well. If it makes sense, then we're willing to travel 100% and do the best for those guests. Otherwise, it's usually right here in Middle Tennessee. I've done things up in Kentucky as well. So it's not outside the box. It's not outside the realm of possibilities. So if the call comes in, we're happy to answer every time.
All right. And where do people find you for your personal company? Do you have the website or an Instagram that you'd like to shout out?
Currently, it's just been things on Gig Salad. So you can email me at partyyourworld@gmail.com, or anyone can reach out to me at mermaidSabrinarose@gmail.com, or even on the socials on Finstagram at Mermaid Sabrina Rose.
Finstagram.
Oh, absolutely. We've got the fish books and the Finstagrams. Absolutely.
That's right. Sabrina, thank you so much. I'm really grateful for your time today. One of the whole reasons I started this podcast was to showcase really unique careers and journeys. And I really enjoy sharing yours. I think some of my personal takeaways is your love for the flexibility in your jobs and careers, kind of switching gears. Sometimes I think, we're in a space and a time in our world where people look at that as a negative, but I love your take on it, that it's a positive and something you've embraced. And I think that's a great message for our listeners. There's not only one right way of doing work. And so I think that's a great message. And the fact that you've chosen a career that's unique, but also extremely impactful to the people that you engage and interact with, I think is really, really lovely. So congratulations. And thank you again for joining us today. Any parting words or advice or anything you'd like to share for anybody listening? Again, our listeners are really people exploring careers, looking at different career options, and maybe just thinking about a pivot in their own work journey.
Never let a job identify you. Never let a career or a hobby become your identity. Our identity is in Christ always. And letting him lead and direct makes life so much easier because nothing is in our control anyway. And he has good plans for us for his glory. And if I'm willing to be the vessel he's designed me to be, then that means that there's so many adventures that he has me a part of. I just have to be willing to let go and let God, and he will direct my currents. So I would encourage everybody else to keep their ears open and hearts ready to receive whatever he has in that, because he's going to lead you down some pretty incredible adventures if we put our full weight and trust in him and ask him for wisdom. He'll give it to us anytime. He doesn't show favoritism, and if we truly put our full weight and trust in him, the book of James says that we can trust that he'll do that, because anybody who's not putting our trust in the Lord, we're like waves being tossed back and forth, and we don't have to be that way. He gives us that steady course. So hang on tight and trust the Lord.
I love that. Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you for your time today. Thanks for tuning in to The People of Work. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow along and share it with someone who'd love these stories too. Do you or someone you know have a unique job or an inspiring work journey? I'd love to hear about it. You can find me on Instagram at The People of Work or visit thepeopleofwork.com. And if you're navigating a career transition or just need support in your work life, I'm here for that too. From personal coaching to leadership and HR consulting, I'd love to help. Head to thepeopleofwork.com to learn more and get in touch. Until next time, thanks for being a part of The People of Work.